But truly, these merchants of joy come to this with such a deep, it's a calling for them. It is about so much more than selling a tree.
I am chatting today with Celia Aniskovich, the director of The Merchants of Joy. Honestly, Celia, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for chatting about my favorite topic, Christmas trees.
Thank you for making this my favorite topic. Honestly, I I was saying after I finished watching it, I didn't know that the real war on Christmas takes place in the Christmas tree realm. Like
I love that. Yeah.
this is a wild, wonderful story with wonderful people. How did it come across?
So I read an article in Epic magazine back in December of 2022 that was about this. It was written by one of the workers of one of the stands, who is kind of the only person who might have known this kind of behind the curtain story. And I like to joke, the first person who sent me the article was my mother, so she likes to claim that she created the film. And then after that, probably 25 people sent it to me within 24 hours. If you know anything about me, you know two things. You know that I'm a diehard New York Mets fan and that I love Christmas more than anything. Those are sort of the pillars of me. And so people said, how is this possible? That we didn't know this. This is the documentary for you. It's Christmas. It's New York City. You got to do it. And so that's how it started.
It really is, and it really is wonderful. And what I love about this too is when the film opens, it taps into the wonder of New York Christmas, which has this sort of mythological feel to it. It's really interesting and unique. I mean, we see Christmas, I'm going to use air quotes, Christmas films where it's in these small towns, but there's something special about New York. What is it about a New York Christmas?
Christmas in New York is really the world's Christmas. It's the Christmas capital, for everyone. And so when you see the Rockefeller Christmas tree, which is getting lit up today, actually, everyone, that's just a sort of shared cultural experience. Everyone knows what that means. And so it was really important to me to honor that as well. You'll see throughout the film, that there are these little nuggets of different people's types of traditions and things that people do in New York around Christmas, threaded throughout the film. I think I love that you talk about this mythological thing because we talk about this a lot. There's sort of the ideal version of Christmas, right? The sort of Hallmark movies and this perfect, nothing bad can happen. And then there's like you and your uncle screaming at each other across the table at Christmas dinner that happens in every family, right? And I think we want this mythical version where everything's perfect. And actually, we all want our own Christmas. We all want our own dysfunctional, wonderful families who have their own weird traditions. We want that love around the table, even if it's not perfect. That's what we crave. And so we tried to show some of that grit in the film too. And, you know, nothing's grittier than New York City. But truly, these merchants of joy come to this with such a deep, it's a calling for them. It is about so much more than selling a tree.
I'm so glad you said that because that's one of the things that really struck me about these families. And we're talking generally about family-owned businesses here. It's in this particular film. It's a calling, it's a family legacy, it's so many things. What surprised you most about delving into this world of tree merchants?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's the logistical surprises, which are fascinating, right? That almost all the trees sold in the five boroughs are sold by these five people. There's just, yeah, stuff you'd never expect. But I think beyond that, when I first read the article, I thought, oh, he must have embellished. There's no way these people could be like this. They're so dynamic. There's so many like stories that if this was a scripted film with actors, you'd never believe that they were true, right? And when I first met Big Greg, who looks just like Santa Claus and has a sort of Santa way of life, I learned that again. Greg says this. He said, "Look, we're all hustlers. We're all street peddlers, but we all chose to sell trees. We could have chosen to sell anything, but we chose trees, and that says something, right? They're choosing to sell not just a product, but a moment, a memory, an experience, and it's deeply important to them. And I was shocked to learn just how meaningful this is to them, just how much they haven't had a Christmas of their own their whole lives. They sacrifice their Christmas every year so that they can be on the street corner to bring you, right? We don't think about these things, right? Like they're there and they're not with their own families to make sure you get that piece of magic. And I hope this film, we don't see a lot of happy documentaries. We don't see a lot of documentaries that center working class, everyday American families who want to bring joy. That's not the average topic of a documentary. And so I hope that there is, a reminder here of, Greg always says anyone can be Santa any day they choose. That we're all a little more Santa to each other, that we all, can find that magic and spread it as well.
You tapped into the one of the lines here that I actually think is so incredible in this film, and it's the idea of selling moments in time. Because that's a remark. I mean, we don't really think about it in that way, whether and how putting up a Christmas tree. I mean, sometimes we think about it with nostalgia, but there's a real belief amongst these families that they're selling something special to the people that walk away. I think at one point, I don't think it was Greg, but somebody says that most people don't walk away upset when they buy their Christmas tree. Can
Yeah.
you talk about the power of this moment in time that they seem to be reaching for? I know you've sort of dabbled in a little bit, but could you explore that a little more?
Yeah. So, George Nash says that Christmas trees are a talisman of ancient spirits and, they represent something bigger. And I love that. And I think, there is this sense that they are reaching for something that, maybe it's a moment they had as a child.
Mm.
Maybe it's something they didn't get. And so that they want, George Smith talks about, I grew up on welfare. I had to sort of fight for everything I got. And, he wants to create that magical experience for other people. You learn not just about the trees, but you learn about each of these individual people who adopt children, who do, I mean, they are giving in all aspects of their lives that you learn about in this film. I think there's something for each of them again that is profound in meaning about what they do and why they do it. And we wanted to make sure that this film felt like it was part of hopefully a Christmas canon of films that you
Mm.
watch every year at Christmas that you come back to. And part of doing that was also wanting to reach for something ourselves in that. It's why we have Christmas claymation as an old nod to the old school Christmas movies. That's not AI; those are hand-built puppets that we animated. The entire backdrops are hand-built puppets. I have them in my office. They're real. And we wanted to, also make sure this film has a happy ending. That's really important to me. Christmas movies have happy endings. Christmas movies have certain themes. They urge you to care. They urge you to love. And that was if I did anything out of, I wanted to take a page out of their book and make sure that I was sharing in the same way that they were.
I love the stop motion. I have a deep love for that. I
I
have.
was gonna say, look who's
He's
back
right
there.
there. He's
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, I love it.
I love the Bumble. I love Rudolph. I gotta ask you though, because the one thing this film has that I didn't expect, and maybe this is not the right word, but bear with me, a pseudo villain. Uh, that is the last thing I expected in this documentary about the world of selling Christmas trees. Can you talk about the enigma that is Kevin Hammer? Because seems to be this, and even we don't even get to see his face. He's this overarching presence uh, in this story.
Yes. So he's often referred to as the Kaiser Soze of Christmas, which, if you don't know that reference, look it up. For anyone listening, I think it's a perfect description. I've never met him in real life. I only ever communicated with him via phone calls, as you see in the film. But I like to say, yes, he definitely has a villain quality to him. I like to think of Kevin, though, as the Grinch, which doesn't just mean he's Grinchy. It means, if you remember the end of the film of the Grinch actually loves Christmas more than anyone. It's just he's had a series of experiences that got him to this place. And so, the final moment, the final line we hear from Kevin in the film is, I don't like New York City. I love New York City. Like, why would you be anywhere else? And so I hope that there's this sort of redemptive arc for Kevin of, yeah, he's a bit of a curmudgeon and yeah, he doesn't want to be in the film and, he's too busy but he answered my phone call every time I called. We talked about lots of stuff, his favorite books, his favorite baseball teams. He's a serious businessman, but there's another side of Kevin too, and I think it's important. We all have those Grinches in our life as well, right? Those people who are a little bah humbug about it all, and they're important too.
And I should say this too. This is why I hesitate to use the word villain because there's lots of people that have nice things to say about him.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but
vice
but
versa. There are lots of
yes,
people who
I'm sure.
say about him. Yep.
It's just so funny because he's almost like this looming shadow over the industry,
Yeah. Well,
which
and
is
it's
so
very
wild.
funny in New York. You can tell whose stands are like the Nash's stands have big Uptown Christmas tree banners, and Heather has like his stands are not recognizable. So you actually, it's even more so. You can't tell where he is. You don't know. He's just sort of everywhere. He's a ghost. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But one of the things too about this that I think is such a charming film, this film has a lot to say about family, and not just the families who are running it. They seem to be creating a family amongst themselves, a place of new beginnings. Like this, like to see some of these people who are getting the opportunity to work at these stands. It's a second chance for them. How is it that, or how did the idea of family impact you as you were speaking with these different families and the people there?
Hugely. I mean, both on and off the screen, I have to say, when we filmed this, I missed every holiday that year as well. I had to look at my own family and say, I'm not going to be with you because I'm going to be with my tree family, filming. I had to say, I self-financed this in the beginning and almost bankrupted myself. I had to look at my family and say, what if that happens? Is this a risk worth taking? Should I do this? And they said, yeah. So family took on huge, huge meaning for me making the film. And then to watch these families who, yes, we're talking about blood families with these five families. And, we followed in a year where two of the families handed the businesses down to their kids. So there was a family legacy conversation throughout the film. But then you talk about what you're kind of describing chosen family. This is a community of chosen families. Some of my favorite lines in the film, one of Heather's workers says, I don't have a family. So selling trees at Christmas, New Yorkers are my family. Another one says, Heather hires the unhirables. She hires a lot of these people are former addicts. They hire addicts. They hire people who no one else will hire. And they give them a chance. And they say, you are worthy. You are needed. You are part of our family. And, they all say, like, you don't know what that does to someone. Like, even just that one kind word can change someone's entire life.
Mm.
And so, one of the final moments of our film, which I love, is one of Heather's night guards at her stand, Georgie Porgy. She calls him Georgie Porgy Pumpkin Pie. We just called him Georgie Porgy. But he is this. When she hired him, he was a raging alcoholic. He screwed up at every turn. And he says, if there's such a thing as angels, that's what these people are. They are angels who are giving us all this chance that we don't deserve, but that and I love that. I love that idea that these are sort of our little angels hidden in plain sight around the city.
Yeah, yeah, it's very special. It's very special, and I I I don't. I want to ask this. I'm not sure if I should, but I also want to ask, how is Big Greg?
So Big Greg passed away a couple of months ago. Here's what I'll say. So we filmed Christmas of 2023. The ending used to be different. So when we stopped filming, he got this phone call that is not in the film because it didn't feel right. But I love talking about it because he got this phone call. We watched the cancer progress, we watched it spread, we watched him in the tree farms, like not being able to walk very well. And he got a call from his doctor a couple weeks before Christmas. And for anyone who's watched someone pass away, they usually get a burst of energy at the end.
Yeah.
And we watched that happen. And I started to get really worried. This is it. And his doctor called him and he said, Greg, I have your whole team. Greg used to take all his calls on speakerphone. He said, I have your whole team. So we're filming. And for the record, when Greg got his cancer diagnosis, it was day 2 of us filming. We've known about this since the very beginning. Yeah, it's at the end of the film, but we knew about it from day 2. Yeah. And he said
Wow.
to us, I know, he said to
Okay.
us, this is my dying wish that you make this film. You have to make this film. We didn't put it at the beginning because we felt like that would be exploitative. We didn't want it to feel like we were, and so his doctor says, so we're filming. Greg's like, turn on the cameras. I'm getting this call from the doctors. He didn't know what it was about again. And he puts it on speakerphone, and the doctor said, Greg, are you sitting down? I have your whole team here. We need to talk to you about something. And Greg says, yeah, yeah, what's going on, guys? And they said, we don't know how to explain it, but your scans are clear. We can't find the cancer. And I'm crying. My camera woman is crying. We hang up, he hangs up the phone and he goes, of course I'm cancer free. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I know the big guy. I wished for this for Christmas. And you just have this moment of like, Santa Claus is real. Yeah. And he got a
Wow.
whole nother year and a half after that. The cancer came back. He went quite quickly. He went on his birthday, which is so Greg. We always joke he wanted us to be celebrating him even on the way out. But he got to see the film before he passed. Again, I always say he got his Christmas miracle. He got another year and a half with his son. And his son is doing so well with the business. And it's hard, in my mind, Greg is still so alive. He's so alive in this film. It's hard to believe that I won't roll up to his house in Queens like always, and he'll be halfway out the driveway before I've, gotten out of the car. But unfortunately, he is no longer with us.
Thank you for sharing that. Honestly, that was like you fall in love with these people. And I'm sure that you fell in love with these people. But as a viewer, I did. And you get a sense of a piece of their soul is in what they're doing. And this is truly a subset of the population that we just miss. And it is just a wonderful film, honestly.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
Celia, we're out of time, but thank you
Yes, thank
for
you.
speaking with me and sharing this incredible story with us. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing it. And I love it feels like fate that you have that little guy in the background. I'm just thinking about, yes, he's just so perfect. Yeah.
He's my guy. He's my
Yeah.
guy. My kids know it.
Love
I do love myself a good Rankin Bass Christmas movie.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. All right.